Oh, Lisa's on too.
If you're able, please join me in standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. On the agenda, just a roll call, and all trustees are present, the exception of trustee Marcy, she is absent excused. That brings us to number 3, reports, and we have our very own Kristen Armstrong, the executive director of the Saugatuck Center for the Arts here, to give us an annual presentation.
Well, thank you, and this is perfect. We're stretching just as the PDF is coming up, so here we go. Oh,
Great time.
Thank you for your time. You guys have busy agendas, and I'm super appreciative of the time and being able to give you an update. It is a jam-packed year, and we're gonna rip through this today too for you. So, oh, it was on, it was there, it's coming back, it's here in a second. Well, I'll start by saying I think the first, well, actually, perfect. Thank you.
It'll be there shortly, I promise.
The good news is the snow piles are finally starting to melt, and so you can like get into parking places again at the STA, which is very exciting, as it is for all of us.
No.
Well, if we can't get it up, we'll figure this out. I can open up my computer and at least I can. There we go. Oh, perfect. There you go. There we go. Great. Thank you. Thanks. Perfect. Thank you.
Yep.
Oh, no,
We're getting closer, I promise.
Okay, there's.
There we go.
Oh, they're sharing. Thank you. So everybody can see it. Great. Okay. So just a quick hi is that remember the STA really what we're doing, we say, is connecting people, building community and transforming lives for the arts. And the way that happens is everything we're going to roll out. But really at the heart of it, that's what we're trying to do at the Arts Center. So next slide. So Happy Keyboard series is already rolling. So this is the great informal series we do in our lobby every year. So 2 o'clock on Sundays. It's a very affordable, inexpensive ticket. There's actually one on Sunday. And I would tell you all to come if you haven't come. They are informal, so the performers talk to you, they take questions. It's great. If you enjoy keyboard music, I would tell you to give it a go. And it's a great Sunday afternoon thing to do. Next slide. So we're going to roll into, this is what we have on tap for the year in terms of performance. So concerts and performance. Heartache Tonight, Eagles Tribute Band. We had them 2 years ago. They sold out so fast. So we're bringing them back for 2 nights in April. And then I love to throw this in here just because people often don't realize, like we've been the home for the Saugatuck High School prom for years. And it's just lovely. So they rent the space, we host Saugatuck Prom. Also like the Dance Asylum, we're honored to be the home for their spring and their holiday recital. So that happens at the STA too. Second City will be here for 2 days in May, which is going to be great fun. And then next slide, you'll see in the summertime, in between the 2 big musicals, Laura Bell Bundy will be with us. She was the original Elwoods on Broadway. And also in Hairspray, starring role in Hairspray on Broadway. She's got her own cabaret show. So we'll have her for 2 evenings in July in the theater. And then our performance studio, it's quite possible you've never seen it. It's a black box in the back of the building that seats about 55 people. And we've got that up and running again 2 nights in July. Also, Jeremy Verwise is coming, so we'll have him back in there. And then at the end of the theater season, Peyton Riley has actually a new 1-person musical show that she built with Chris Blissett Red while they were here last year. And so we're debuting this kind of cabaret musical theater performance. This year, guys, remember too, Labor Day is like the latest it can be. So the theater season actually closes like the 29th of April, but then we've got that whole crazy week until Labor Day hits. So this will be kind of right at the end of that week. Then in September, you may know Jen Hatmaker. She is a New York Times bestselling author, and she is lucky for us, good friends with Wade Rouse. They've met each other on book tour. So we will be hosting an evening with Jen. She tours all over the country. She's got a new book out. She has a huge podcast. She's a big lifestyle person, and it's kind of crazy that we're gonna have her in Saugatuck. So we're very excited about that in September. Honky Tonk Chicks in October. This is Becca Andrews' group. They do everything from modern to some classic country. They're phenomenal. They'll be here in October for 2 nights. Then another small in the performance studio, Brian Oberlin. And then finally, we'll wrap up concert season with Rufus Ferguson Trio, Jazz Trio in the lobby for 2 nights. We set up like a nightclub for that. So lots of concerts on deck. And as you saw, everything 2 nights mostly. We're trying 2 nights because we've kind of grown into that. So the next slide, I think, oh, Mountain Film, right. So coming up here in March, this is the film festival that we've done for years in partnership with the Mountain Film Festival in Telluride, Colorado. We are one of only 2 partners in the state of Michigan that bring the on-tour award-winning documentaries to the west side here. The other one's in Ann Arbor. So it will be, the community festival is on Saturday, March 1st. Or excuse me, 21st, morning screening, afternoon screening, and then a big 2-hour evening screening too. And in between cocktails and art and all kinds of things. So if you are a film, you enjoy film, this is the nation's oldest documentary film festival, and the product is phenomenal. Like, that's a money back guarantee. So come and hang out with us for film festival. And then as you saw in March, I'm sorry, I keep doing this, jumping back and forth. The Children's Film Festival, I'll mention this. Gosh, we've done this for 20 years now. We bring documentary films for young audiences, both to schools in our area. So we'll have about 1,800 kids who will come to the FCA to do a 1-hour screening of films. We go out to some places, like Allegan Schools has a beautiful performing arts center. So we go to Allegan Schools, we screen it there for, it'll be probably 1st through 12th grades there. Or maybe it's 8th grade, but at any rate, we go out there, and then we also do remote screening. So people who now want it digitally in their classrooms, we can provide that too. So all in, we'll probably have about 4,000 kids experience free of charge, cost-free, the Children's Film Festival, which is pretty cool. And farmers markets, of course, will be back. Spring market, you can see the holiday market, and then May through September, every Friday, the farmers market, of course, will be back in the plaza. And, oh, I threw this in here because people often just don't remember, or maybe never knew, we do lots of weddings and rentals. So when you pass the FCA on a Saturday and you think, oh my God, what a party. It's probably somebody's awesome wedding is what's happening. So those are happening most Saturdays, all the way through October, outdoors under the plaza, or I should say under the pavilion. And we also love to do corporate rentals or community event rentals. So if you ever need a space for an offsite retreat of any type, give us a jingle, because we love hosting groups. And we have nonprofit rates, and I'm sure municipality will qualify. So some children's summer camps, we opened registration last week. We're already more than half full. So we do kind of classic June through August. Parents pay for this, although we have scholarships. And this year we gave out every scholarship dollar, which was awesome, to help families who maybe, for whom this is a stretch, also be able to participate and be able to come. So this is kind of June through August, 2, 3, and 4-day camps. Every camp that we do includes a professional artist. So kiddos are learning from a chef or from a printmaker or a fiber artist, and our instructors come alongside to do all the classroom management. So I think that's really a key differentiator. And we also work with like fellow kids, Outdoor Discovery Center, the library. We've got lots of other partners that are part of our summer camp too. And then professional theater. So tickets are on sale for members. I think they on sale with public next week. So this year we're opening with Into the Woods, which is a Stephen Sondheim. It's an iconic show, won a bazillion Tonys. It's the most revived show on Broadway with 5 revivals. And there will be, of course, a fresh Kurt Stam take on this. So if you haven't seen it, you really need to come see it. If you've seen the show before, what you know is, but nobody does shows like Kurt Stam. So please come see Into the Woods. And then the second show is Once, which we did back in 17, I think, when it came off the national tour. So we're bringing this show back. This is a fabulous show where all of the actors are also forward-facing musicians. So like the band is on the stage and they're all playing and singing. And you may remember, or if you're new to this, one of the really cool parts about this show is it is set in a bar in Dublin. And so quite literally the bar is a functioning bar. So pre-show and during intermission, guests can go up onto the stage, which like you never get to do, right? And actually get served from the bar and even sit up there because the actor musicians are out playing during the show, which is super cool too, or I should say intermission pre-show. This is one I tell people come early, like hang out, it's super fun. So we will close the theater months. And then, oh, okay, we're gonna go a little bit into education exhibitions, all the other things we're doing. So our theme for the year is flow. Our creative fellow is Heather Winia. Some of you may know her. She often substitutes in for Claudina. She is a movement specialist, so dance, but also just getting people to move in healthy ways. We'll be stitching her throughout programming all year long, and that is a one-year fellowship that we rotate different people through every year. Last year it was a music therapist, but in the past it's been Minnie Traffman, Scotty Jacobs. We've had amazing people in that seat, so she's our creative fellow this year. And our SCA artist in residence is Jared Medina, wonderful young creative from Holland. Also works at Culture Works, which is one of our great after-school partners in Holland. And so Jared will be stitching us together, not more closely with creatives in Holland, as well as lots of work in the community, especially with students in classrooms. And he'll be with us for the whole year. And then spring art, the exhibition that's up currently, it went up in November, it stays up through May, is with Kayla Powers. It is all about Michigan native flowers. I would come see the show, it's spectacular. She harvests flowers, she creates her own pigments, she dyes the fiber, she sews them, it's crazy, it's beautiful. And it's all about biodiversity and ecology, so it's lovely for us to build curriculum for schools based on Kayla's exhibition. And this summer coming is Brianna Manning, who is a phenomenal young painter, also amazingly based in Holland. It's called Mother Lake is her show, and so it's going to be a whole series of beautiful landscape paintings, a tribute to our own Lake Michigan. And then in fall, and actually I need to change the slide. I would be like, oh wait, hold on. We're actually moving Juan to next summer. So we're gonna flip him to next summer. We're filling this fall exhibition space right now, but Juan will come to us from Chicago. He is a fairly renowned international artist. We're so excited that we have him. And he'll be doing outdoor installation work, creative placemaking work in Holland, as well as having a big exhibition at the SCA. So I say stay tuned for that in 2027. And I'll let you guys know who our fall exhibitioners will be. We're close to being that down. And this is the kind of last bit that we'll talk a little bit about, because this is the piece that people often don't know that we do. We build creative educational programming and we take it into schools up and down the lakeshore. So we are in Saugatuck, Douglas, Benville, West Ottawa, Zeeland, Holland. We serve far more kids in Holland, for instance, than we do in Saugatuck, Douglas, in no small reason, because there's far more kids in Holland than there are in Saugatuck, Douglas. But we work with schools up and down the lakeshore, and our programming is doing this, bringing social emotional learning, lots of literacy baked into our programming, soft skill development, creative career pathway development. It all goes in cost free, because we know that schools simply can't afford it. So rather than try to figure this out, we get it funded by people like you, by businesses and foundations that will also support this, because they know that this is creating stronger young people, which get all those and those, right? You get a strong workforce, you get a better civil societies, like all these things. So that's a bit about that. And I think I got a slide that talks a little bit about the next one. Programming is always tied to our exhibitions. So for Kayla, for instance, the curriculum we built is looking at chemistry of making paint, Michigan native plants, harvesting, ecology, biology, biodiversity. So our exhibition artists are tied to the curriculum for schools. That's what's going into schools that we're teaching students. And I think the next slide might be right. This tells you a little bit what I said about the partnerships we work with. I should note that our in-school programming is typically for 4 90-minute sessions. So we go into classrooms and teach with teachers, and then kids come back to the SCA, to the gallery, and to do some more work with us. And additionally, we do after-school programming with nonprofit partners like LAU, Latin Americans United for Progress, Boys and Girls Clubs in Holland, and of course in Douglas. Also Culture Works, libraries. We work at Herrick Library as well as in town. So we've got all in this year, Children's Film Festival, plus all of this after school and in-school programming. We'll probably work with about 6,000 kids up and down the lakeshore free of charge. So that's the other, I think, really huge piece of what we do. I appreciate that you let me share this with you. I think that might be a slide, or I have a thank you slide. There we go. So I fed you with the fire hose, I know. Are any just questions that I can answer?
Kristen, you come every year and annually give us this, snapshot of what's to come, and the reach has just expanded so much. Not only their reach, but the offerings, it's just incredible, like. How much more can we get better? I don't know.
Well, thank you, and I should note, it's sort of shocking, at the 24-year mark here, we've realized the STA is now really by far the largest arts and cultural organization in the district. We're much larger than our Holland peers, and I don't say that to be like, oh, we're all important. We have a leadership role that we know we need to lean into to raise the tide and to build stronger communities across the entire Lakeshore region. But I would say because of this community's incredible support, we are now in that unique position. John was here from the beginning. You remember, we were the new young kid who was way, way smaller. And interestingly now, we are absolutely the arts and cultural leader by any measure, whether it's budget or breadth of programming, number of full-time staff. And so it's incumbent upon us to continue, I think, that expansion, because I think that's what we need to do, is lean in and lead and raise that tide for all the ships up down. Sure, that'll work. But thank you. Well done. Thanks.
Questions? Thank you for being here.
Thank you for your time, always. I appreciate it.
We look
We'll
forward
see
to
you soon at the end of the day.
into the woods like first someday, right?
Yay.
I'll say that twice, but not like this one.
Next, under reports is treasurer's report. Go ahead, treasurer.
I really have to go. That's not fair. This is not as sexy, our monthly treasurer's report, but it is actually very exciting in terms of fiscal strength and responsibility. So at the end of January, our cash on hand in the general fund bank account is $1.5 million. That was an increase of $929,000 from January. That's mainly because of the tax collections coming in. All of our township villages are on the winter bill, which we're collecting them. Revenues overall through January are running 8% below budget. It's primarily due to timing of state revenue shares. Expenditures are running 15% below budget. That's even better. So we had no departmental overages. I don't think we've had one for years. January saw a few significant payments that I like to point out. They show people the packet. And these were like the smallest significant ones in several months. $9,000 to the city of Saugatuck for the Maple Street improvements, and $6.6 thousand to good old Glen Havner, because we've had a lot of snow plowing. Yeah, those are very, very modest. So we're just over halfway through fiscal year 2016. Your consent agenda tonight, I just got an update because the bill came in today. Bills that had to be paid before the next board meeting. So those extra ones total $48,000. $27,000 of that came in today for Brian and Newhoff, our engineers, and that's for work on the old Elegant lift station. Is that for the enclave?
For the enclave.
Yeah. Okay, that's a new development. That will be paid back to us because they have a bill.
Yeah.
That's getting to nitty-gritty. So we're coming up at the end of tax year 2025. Tax bills, for those of you in the township, they're due by next Tuesday, February 17th. It's 2 days later because of President's Day holiday. But we're already have collected 80% of it. We always have a great return. So that's wonderful. Let's see, and then you're also approving in the consent agenda total tax disbursements in January. That's what we take money in and we give it back out to the state, to the library, you name it.
Schools.
And the schools, don't forget the schools. So that the total in January is $3.6 million. On the investment front, just our total investment value as of January 31st was at $6.75 million. That's down $175,000 from last month. We had some CDs maturing. One we extended, but we cashed one in to go into the general fund bank account to get ready for some upcoming expenses for the building exterior. And so just in summary, the other way to look at this is, we're 60% through the fiscal year. Our revenues so far are at 51%, increase this month, and expenses 44%. That'll probably increase too, but again, we're in a really strong fiscal state. Thank you for listening to this. Anyone has questions, I can answer them. Go ahead.
That's Hey, Commissioner.
Well, there is no planning commission report tonight because I was not at the last planning commission meeting. I was vacationing and I am now back and ready to perform my duties.
Okay, we will hear from you
I
next.
did watch that one on Zoom.
You did?
Yeah. I mean, the main issue was the potential the Johnny Walker. Stuff, which was tabled to get more information.
Yeah.
And that is the one that if it happens, we would be proceeding to get a TIF.
Yes.
through the county.
through the county.
That was the.
Thank you. All right, managers report.
Okay. So this is actually on the agenda tonight, but the township was awarded $50,000 from the Michigan Infrastructure Office Technical Assistance Center to support pre-development activities aimed at improving the intersection of Blue Star Highway, 135th Avenue and 65th Street, which is that kind of wonky 5-6 way intersection. So we had a lot of feedback from the public with concerns about the safety of that intersection. It is a funny intersection, and we did approve a new development, new housing development to go in on 135th in that area. So we anticipate to see an increase of traffic in that area. So this is going to support all of the activities that need to happen to set us up to apply for a federal grant to pay for the actual construction of the improvements. This is a pilot program through the state of Michigan, so it's kind of exciting to be on the, at the beginning of it all and be a part of it, but it's a great program that specifically aims to help municipalities in the state of Michigan prepare for application to federal grants, which can be very costly. So this is a huge step forward in moving that project forward. And then also identifying funding that could support the construction of the improvements once they're designed. And then, just improving the overall safety of that intersection. So that grant agreement is on the agenda for approval tonight. We did have some meetings of the Kalamazoo Lake Sewer and Water Authority, kind of combining this because now I'm on the Cal Lake Commission. But we did hold 2 special meetings, one on January 21st, one on February 4th. On the January 21st meeting, we did adopt bylaws. We also created a subcommittee to assist with the development of the fiscal year 2027 budget. We approved health insurance renewal for staff. We also voted on possible sale of sewer capacity between the city of Douglas and the city of Saugatuck. The commission did vote to decline consent to that sale 3-2. And then at our February 4th meeting, we did approve an employment agreement to hire a new authority administrator, which we've been working on for quite some time now. So that was very exciting for us. The new hire is very excited to start, so that made it official. And they should begin on not tomorrow, next Thursday. So in about a week. And then we did review a draft budget for the next fiscal year, and we have a meeting on Monday, February 16th. For that. And then we're continuing to make progress on the Blue Star Trail extension from Wiley Road to M89. As most of you know, you attended, we had the joint meeting with the city of Douglas, which I thought was very productive. We continue to meet with the Friends of the Blue Star Trail and the city of Douglas. This is also on the agenda tonight. We thought the best way forward was to enter into a new interlocal agreement that would commit everybody to supporting engineering proposal from Prine and Newhoff. So I can discuss that a little later. Also, representatives from the township, city of Saugatuck and city of Douglas met with Saugatuck Public Schools to discuss potential grant opportunities with the safe routes. Or this exactly is it, Safe Routes to School grant program. So this is some substantial money to support infrastructure improvements that would improve pedestrian access to schools and safety improvements. So we will be working with, or at least we'll be consulting with someone from Prine and Newhoff as to what would be entailed if we were to move forward with that. There are definitely opportunities in all three communities, in the city of Douglas, city of Saugatuck, and Saugatuck Township. So we'll be looking into, what's required and are there potential projects that we could apply for in all three communities, and how do we prioritize that? The township did this month submit a grant application to the Michigan Coastal Management Program. We requested $50,000 to support the development of a Saugatuck Township master plan. Currently, we have a tri-community master plan, which is great, but all three communities are getting to the point where we have a little more nuanced approach to planning in our communities. Douglas has already completed their own master plan. The city of Saugatuck has initiated the development of their own master plan. And then we're looking to the coastal management program to support at least 50% of the cost of developing a township master plan. $100,000 for a total master plan. It's probably in the normal range now. We do have some sensitive areas in the township that do require a little more support, a little more financial support. So part of that grant application was to develop a coastal resiliency plan. So we have funding in there to hire a coastal engineer to help us develop that plan. So we'll be looking at coastal areas within the township, and that will become part of our master plan. We also have money set aside to work with the CVB, which Kristen is on the board. And we'll be working to develop a tourism plan with the CVB, and then hoping to integrate some of these coastal resiliency principles into that, so we can demonstrate how environmental stewardship can also bolster the economy in our area. So we did that, which was great. We continue to work on drafting amendments to the zoning ordinance to develop what we're calling hamlet zoning districts. So they're allowing for denser residential development in key areas along the Blue Star corridor. Those draft amendments and a presentation will be presented to the Planning Commission at their meeting on Tuesday. And that's all funded through MISHDA, 100% of it. So we'll keep making progress on that. I did meet with the staff at the right place. So I remember at last meeting, we talked about whether or not the grant agreement could be amended in any way to support the Town Plaza project. It can't be, which I wasn't surprised by. But I think we're able to work through all of the requirements of the grant agreement, but we met with the right place, and we just kind of talked through what's going to be required of the grant in terms of submission for reimbursement, and then also reporting requirements. So we can start the project at any point, and we're hoping to start the renovation to the exterior of the building and the Town Plaza project hopefully in March, or as soon as the ground thaws. So that's coming up really soon. But yeah, we did receive $185,000 from the state to support that project. So that was exciting. This is like a repeat here. Parks Commission held their regular meeting on February 4th. We did officially launch a fundraising campaign for Riverside Park in partnership with the Land Conservancy of West Michigan. We have a joint news release out there, a dedicated fundraising page on our site and on the Land Conservancy site. So we hope to make some progress over the spring. As you recall, the Land Conservancy has dedicated $200,000 towards that project, and they're hoping to raise or fundraise that $200,000. It is their 50th anniversary. So they're hoping to re-engage with the Saugatuck Douglas community. So excited to get that moving. And then the River Bluff Improvement Project is continuing to progress as well. We're very close to submitting our Section 106 review. We've been in close coordination with the tribes. We want to make sure that that is all I guess all the issues are settled before we submit it. We're still hoping to bid that project sometime in the spring and then start early to midsummer for construction. So that is access improvements, shoreline stabilization, the construction of a new fishing pier, and then the construction of a over the marsh boardwalk. So we're hoping that all of those improvements are going to enhance the visitor experience there, and then also make it a lot more accessible to folks, because right now River Bluff Park is not very accessible if you have any kind of mobility issues. And that's it.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, that's the public comment. We're pleased that we have a lot of folks here tonight. Very pleased that Representative Andrews is here. Thank you for being here, and Chief Janik. Let me just remind you all, for those of you who have not been here before, public comment is just that, just a comment. We may potentially engage with, Representative Andrews or Chief Janik, but for the public that are here to speak, there's a 3-minute limit. If you're speaking on behalf of yourself, 5 minutes. If you're speaking on behalf of a group, there's also a chance to speak at the end of the meeting. I assume or guess that many of you are here to talk about Lakeshore Drive. During that agenda item, we will not entertain, comments or questions from the public. I know that yesterday, at least one of you were here and we're a little bit more relaxed at our committee of the whole meeting, but this is a formal meeting, so we won't be hearing from the public on that agenda item, but now at the end of the meeting, we will. I'd like to invite Representative Andrews to kick off this. Thank you for being here. We know you're terribly busy, so we'll let you go first. We'll let you cut in line.
I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me here. Joey Andrews, I represent the 38th House District. It runs from here in Saugatuck Township at the north all the way down to the Buffalo Township at the border of Indiana. So we're making our rounds, myself and Allison, my legislative director, among our communities as the new year kicks off, new budget cycle begins. Some of you may have heard the governor made her budget proposal earlier today. So it's officially open budget season in Lansing. There is a new process this year for requesting grants, which is one of the big reasons we're making the rounds early this year in the cycle. So as of last year, both the House and the Senate have approved a process by which we submit grants on behalf of our municipalities. If it's for what we call legislative directive spending, which is like when myself or one of the senators proposes a grant in the budget process. So I think Danny, we've been in touch with you about this already, but for everyone else, there's a deadline now of April 1st for submission of all of these grants and a much more formal process by which we submit these grants. Let's say personally, I think it's an improvement over the previous process, just in terms of overall transparency and making sure that what is being submitted has some real credibility behind it. But it does tighten the process up quite a bit. Previously we could submit requests like basically until the budget was being voted on. Now, if they're not in by that April deadline, they're not up for consideration. So it's a change. We want to make sure everyone's aware of it so that if there are needs in the township this year, we have a chance to get those in for a hearing and make the request. I will note that the budget this year, we're expecting to be quite a bit tighter than the previous few years. The fiscal reports we've gotten up until now show that we're looking at probably about somewhere between an $800 million and $1 billion shortfall compared to previous year's budgets. We have about an $82 billion budget in Michigan. So I mean, not that a billion's not a lot of money, but it's not a panic-inducing shortfall. Just it's not the kind of budget that opens up a lot of room for us to put in a lot of extra requests for local grant making, that sort of thing. So we're expecting it to be tighter this year. Just unemployment's up a little bit in the state, tax collection has been down a little bit as a result, and so we did a little bit of reshuffling last year as well around how we're funding roads, and so all of those things kind of combined to revenue not being where where it has been. On that note, this will be the first year under the new road funding formula. So there are gonna be some new grants available at MDOT for transit projects, road projects, I don't know if rail is relevant, but rail projects as well. So be on the lookout for that. This funding is supposed to be an ongoing grant process for the next, 10 years, basically. So there's gonna be a lot of opportunity to get at extra funding for potential road projects and transit projects that could be, beneficial here. So I wanna make sure that's on everybody's radar. There should also be some additional public safety funding this year. I think it'll probably be pretty small for you guys. It's CBI funding, which means it's allocated on the basis of crime statistics. So the safer the community is, the less money you get. So it's good to get less, even though you want more, which, I get it. But there should be at least a little bit for every community in there. So expect a little bit of extra money from that process for public safety this year. On the legislative front, to kind of, break away from the budget conversation, I think we're all expecting a pretty slow year in Lansing this year. Not that last year was fast by any means, but I think we could see yet a slower pace. Relationships between the House and Senate leadership are not good. And of course, we get to an election year, which always impacts, the pace of new policy being done. We've got a few bills we're working on. One around historic preservation tax credits, which has been a really popular program in Michigan to the point where the credit is pretty well maxed out, but allows for the kind of revitalization and use of historic properties, give them a new lease on life for like a residential or commercial purpose while preserving them, which is always a challenge with, particularly historic properties. So that's a piece of legislation that we're hoping we might be able to get through this year. And I would expect in the next few weeks to start seeing bill packages rolling out from our caucus around affordability. So housing, cost of goods, energy, childcare, all of those sorts of things are going to be a big focus for us this year. And as we go into the next term, is going to kind of make up the base of what our focus is in the House, is kind of addressing these core affordability issues. So keep an eye out. If you see anything in there that looks relevant, send us feedback, that sort of thing. But yeah, that is kind of where we're at right now.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
This won't surprise you. No, and Clerk Osmond did some reading today too. We understand there are two pending legislations in Lansing between, I don't know where they are in terms of committee going to a vote relative to allowing municipalities to set their own speed limits on streets and not rely on their county road commission, which is how it is right now. Can you address either of those? Or?
Yeah, so I'm not sure exactly where those are in the process, but I think a little bit of background on how we got to this would be helpful too.
Sure.
So 2 years ago now, we passed some bills that were designed around the idea of giving more local control on speed limit setting. As those were moving through the legislative process, we ran into a couple of issues. One where the state police wanted more say in the setting of speed limits, and of course the counties as well. And what we kind of ended up with was, instead of a process that was supposed to speed up and make it easier to set speed limits, it ended up actually making it harder and slower. So so the bills that are moving through right now are trying to correct for that and take it back a little bit to that original intent of giving local communities a little more say in setting speed limits. I don't know where they are at the moment, but hopeful that some progress is going to be made on them. That I've heard about this from several. I was actually at a Lincoln Township meeting down in Berrien County yesterday. Same thing. They said we've been trying to change the speed limit on this road for a year, and they do the study, and then the time it takes for them to get a response from MDOT and MSP is so long that they keep falling into the next calendar year, and then they have to redo the study. So they're also running into these issues, but I'm hoping that those bills will be successful at putting it back where we were supposed to be, which is making it a little bit easier. There's supposed to be basically a discretion. It's supposed to create a discretionary level when you do the speed study. So like if you did a speed study and it came back and said this road, is 40 miles an hour, let's say, it gives you the ability to say, we would prefer 35 or we would prefer 45. And so kind of set some bumpers where you can say, no, we would like it to be slower or faster than what you set it at. The current law is supposed to do that, but that all the additional process that kind of got tacked on is made that impossible.
No, and you've been very supportive and keeping an eye on one of our big issues, one of the issues a lot of people are probably here for tonight. But I keep thinking when they talk about doing speed studies, how do you do a speed study on a road that doesn't exist?
Yeah,
That's my big question.
yeah,
If we add a road to the township, what, just put it in and wait a year so they can do put the things in the road and
I think
it's
they-
frustrating.
It is, and I think they base a lot of it on the design of the road. A lot of the, at least from what I understand, talking to the MDOT folks, a lot of the way they determine this nowadays is based on design of the road and what the road kind of implies to drivers. Basically, the science of this is that the way the road is built kind of tells people how fast to drive on it. So the wider the road and the flatter the road, the faster people go. And it's, you know, putting in sidewalks and bringing roads in tends to force people to slow down. And the studies basically reflect that. Usually when they run a study, it'll kind of come out the way that the road is built sort of pushes the drivers one way or another. So MDOT keeps kind of telling us to tell everybody, hey, if you want a road to be slower, design a slower road. You know, don't make a big wide, fast 3 or 4 lane road because people are just gonna drive 55 miles an hour on. So maybe, I don't know where you're at in the design process, but at least some early preliminary advice is as you're designing the road or you're working with the county, try to design a road that implies the speed limit you're hoping for. So that the study doesn't then, you know, kind of shoot through the roof because it.
No, that's consistent from what I've been
Yes.
hearing.
Yes.
No, but thank you for being aware of this issue. And I'm sure
Absolutely,
We'll bring you into it again more.
keep us in the loop,
What?
keep us in the loop.
Oh, we do. And we appreciate it.
All right, well, thank you all.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Thanks for
Good to see
the
you.
update. Thank you for being here, Representative. All right. Have a great evening. Chief Janik, would you like to go or you wanna?
I thought I would wait if it's okay
Well,
until.
That is very respectful of you.
Thank you.
All right, would anybody from the first row like to speak? Chris, second row? Everybody will have a turn. Sorry. Please state your name.
Todd Needham, 6897 Shore Drive. You all got my letter and thank you, John, for responding to it. I understand in yesterday's meeting, Daniel, you said that there were a lot of misstatements in that letter, like what?
This is not question or answer.
No.
I mean, you want to take a shot at my integrity. Remember, through our FOIA request, we know about the underside of all of this planning, so this is a two-way street. I'm here to appeal to you to not support this grant and this project. And it's not just one item, it's a culmination of everything. It's not the 55 miles an hour that they have to request to get the build grant. It's the traffic counts, the open development potential, the forest that you're gonna destroy. You mentioned environmental stewardship. I mean, you're gonna wipe out a beautiful forest and then to add insult to injury, throw in the bike path, which we don't need. It just runs parallel with the other bike path that we've all contributed to already. The township, the state, individuals with Blue Star Trail, that's all set to go. We don't need another. And so I urge you to, I'm happy to show, I'm surprised that with all the people we reached out to, and I'm representing several people. I didn't do that letter myself, but I needed to put a phone number. But I'm surprised that I got one response. You want to be collaborative with the community and listen to what we're looking for. As we've gotten the word out on this whole project, that's why the groundswell of anger and support against this. Because it was too under the radar and now that people understand what that plan really is, that's why you're getting this pens and you're gonna have a few Zoom calls with people to weigh in, I'm sure too. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you for what you do. My name is Kay Clemens, and I live at 6908 Shore Drive, just off of Lakeshore Drive, south of the washout. I'm speaking for myself tonight. I'm just gonna add a little bit of context for anybody who may not know. I'm sure most people here know exactly what we're talking about. But the road commission wants to build a road. If we're thinking of going north, okay, there's Lake Michigan. And then there's Lakeshore Drive, very close to Lake Michigan. And then there's the expressway, I-96. And then there's Blue Star Highway. And then there's supposed to be a new bike path that has gotten funding to be just beyond that. Where I live, all of that is within about a couple of miles of parallel activity. In the years that we've been discussing this and meeting with people and meeting with the road commission and meeting with neighbors and community to the extent that those options were there, I have never once heard anybody in those contexts say that they are against a bike path. We all ride, we all walk in this beautiful area. I've never heard anyone say that they are against reinforcing and protecting the bluff and the shore. That wouldn't make any sense. That's an asset for all of us, not just people who live next to the lake. And as far as protecting the bluff and the shore, we've all lobbied for and passed legislation that protects the bluff in that area, in that very area. We've all taken individual initiatives to do that and explored all kinds of options. Many of us have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars of our personal money to protect the shore. So there's no opposition to that. I've never heard anyone say that they are opposed to giving emergency vehicles access to anybody. Nobody's against that. There are issues that have to be addressed. Many of us have been trying to explore ways of addressing them for years and years. Oh, I have a soundtrack.
You can have a few.
No, it's not, I'm not doing that. The road that is being proposed is based on a grant. We all love grants. Federal money is a good thing. My understanding is that in this particular grant, the $7-9 million, which wouldn't nearly pay for the proposal, by the way, I don't think even the grant writers believe that it would, is pretty rigid, actually extremely rigid in the requirements for the project that is being funded. You can't change it or amend it or say, well, could we do this instead or could we do that instead? It is a big road. It's a full road, suitable for 18-wheelers with a mandated speed limit of 55 miles per hour. And contrary, I mean, I'm sure there are people here who know better and will speak to it, but contrary to what I heard in your question, I don't think there's any flexibility once this grant is granted to change any of the requirements for this road. Those are not based on local legislation. Those are based on the federal parameters of the grant. I would urge you to not rush forward with this without further explanation of what is really needed by the location and by the community. There are other ways to deal with emergency access. There are other ways to explore reinforcing the
Please,
bluff.
sure,
Okay.
we do need to have time
Sure.
for everybody else.
I wasn't looking at my watch, I'm sorry. So I would just ask you that you not move forward. This just seems like funding looking for a project, not a project looking for funding. And Representative Andrews just said there are gonna be MDOT grants coming up. So I believe there are other ways to do that. Thank you for your time, and I'm sorry I went over.
You do.
Oh, I'm sorry too.
Is there anybody else in the second row that would like to speak? Third row? Again, we'll have a chance at the end of.
My name is Doug Manning, 2566 Lakeshore Drive. I'm speaking for 3 or 4 other people who can't be here tonight. First, I want to thank Daniel for all the work you've done to try to deal with this huge difficult issue and dealing with the County Road Commission and the difficulties that might present. My biggest question is, has the Township Board had a chance to actually look at the current grant application that you're going to vote on? And what are the restrictions and what are the strings that come with it? Last year's application is online, so you can go look at that. And I understand that the current application is not significantly different, maybe some budget numbers are different, it's essentially the same thing. But there appear to be some discrepancies in what we've been told, what we understand, and what that grant application and what the county is saying. The road commission states that it is proposing to build a wide road with a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. It's in black and white. It's not something that they're going to decide the speed limit later. They're building a road to be 55 miles per hour. And they say, quote, a future speed study could be considered to further determine specifically speed limits, but the design speed limit for the proposed 69th Street will be 55 miles an hour. So this is not something that's a question mark. And that grant application promotes 55 miles an hour, saying this is great because it will reduce travel times with a higher 55-mile-per-hour speed limit. So it's referenced in there a dozen times in their proposal. Is proposing a roadway that is 34 feet wide, paved with the road and the shoulders on either side. Lakeshore Drive in front of my house is 22 feet wide. So it's really a roadway that's more than 50% larger than current Lakeshore Drive. It's a pretty wide road. And if we're using the road to determine speed, they're building a 55-mile-per-hour road. It's also unclear from that grant request whether they're planning to make amendments or changes to Lakeshore Drive itself to come into par with their new roadway. So it talks about Lakeshore Drive being deficient and not having a sidewalk and being a safety issue, and we're going to correct that. Now, I don't know if they're planning to correct Lakeshore Drive. They don't say that. They're very vague on it. 4 years ago, residents expressed a desire to have a long-term solution. They wanted future access for residents and Lakeshore Drive falls into their homes. They wanted faster response time for the chief and his team and police departments to be able to get to homes. But they clearly said they want a modest roadway, slow speed limit, leading trees.
Morgan, can you extend his time 2 minutes? He's speaking on behalf of the group.
And minimizing the environmental impact as much as possible. So, and I think it's a little bit misleading to suggest that we'll be able to come back after the fact and those concerns will be heard by the County Road Commission. I think those concerns will be certainly heard by the township, but the road commission is the one making this decision. There's also been talk that we can pull out of this agreement at a later date. We find that if they've gone off the rails, we can pull out of it. And I think it'll be very difficult to pull out of it, politically difficult to pull out, maybe legally we can. The analogy I use is like a wedding. You say that you want to marry your partner, we're gonna have a big wedding, and your partner is walking down the aisle and you say, you know what? I have second thoughts on this, I'm out of this wedding. Well, you can do that. You're gonna piss off your partner, you're gonna piss off their family, it's just gonna be beyond belief. You're gonna piss off your own family who flew in for the wedding. And so you better be sure at the beginning of this process that you say, well, we're gonna get married, that you wanna do it. And I don't think we can afford to piss off the road commission or break a relationship with them. So to pull out at the last minute on something that we agreed to up front, when nothing has changed from what they said they wanted to do, a 55-mile-an-hour road. And I think it's a little bit of a fallacy to assume that future stakeholders may change the minds of the road commission. I mean, I think that's a wish. And so far, they've not agreed to any appeal to build a smaller road, build a slower road. So I think given that this project is one that's gonna take many years, I think what we should do is delay approving this grant or supporting this grant. Go ahead with meetings with the road commission. Let's get some public input and support, build support for this, determine real needs, and then come back with an agreement with the road commission and the public and apply for grants next year. Thank you.
Next row. That's Eugene Chapman. Are you prepared to speak now, or you wanna wait?
No, I can say a few words if it's okay.
Absolutely.
But if the long way around. Hi, I'm Greg Jennings, Saugatuck Township Fire District Chief and a township resident. Hi. So I realize this is a very polarized discussion, and I'm really glad to see everyone here. I don't have all the answers that all of us would like. I can tell you I've been working on this, for about 20 years under Chief Block. We have lots of ideas. And all we want to do is get to you. Give us a chance. I think there were some mistakes made in the past by others. We had opportunities to fix this thing for $8 million, and that was a lot of money. Yeah. So there were a lot of things wrong. We've tried everything. I heard tonight respectfully, we tried to get an access. We used to drive through a 2-track to a woman who needed medical care all the time. We tried to do that again. I spent 2 years with the road commission trying to convince them, I can't get to those 33 people. I can't get to them, they have to be taken care of. So I feel your pain, and I don't know what the answer is, other than the engineers and the people that are the road experts believe the lakeshore is untenable, that the road can't be maintained. That's what I've heard. Arguably, it may be, it may not be. All we want is an opportunity to get to people. So we have to go south to go north. And we can see right there, we have no water supply. We have a single road that is subjected to trees down, power lines down. I've been on that road. I pulled the people out from underneath the car that died when the road collapsed. I don't know what the answer is, but I do think that this body is trying to do something. And I know you may not like that, I understand that. And I'm not siding with anybody here. We just want to be able to get to you, however we're gonna do it. And I've been at this a long time, and it's gotten worse, the road conditions. And that's my fear. The water cycles, tell me one more time, sir. The water cycles and it's going to be, being a lifelong boater, Lake Michigan is going to have its way. And I don't know about building another road, but I do know that some strategy has been put in place to have access. And there are three things we look at: water supply, access, and can we find you with your address? All the rest of it is just fluff. So I think it's really important. How do we do this as a community? How do we get to you? Because nobody's gonna fix the road. So I think that we are trying to figure out a way to get to you that's the most viable way. But I don't like it, and you don't like it, some of you don't like it. But to me, it looks like one of the few options we have. So we've been at this a long time. And I'm just concerned. We tend to get complacent when we don't have a road washout or a sinkhole. That was the longest 2 years of my life, working with that bloody road that collapsed. Nobody listened. It was tough. And I had to figure out how I'm gonna get to these people. I got a road I can get to, that's all I want, is a chance to get to you. That's all I have to say.
Okay. In the last row. Nice.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me again. I
Yeah.
spoke to the board last month. I wanted to stop out and introduce myself to those that are here. My name is Tim Slace. I live in the township, 634-627. My wife and I have been there since 1997. We built. We came over here to the South Haven area in 1996 with state police. I'm running for judge this year in Allen County. We have 2 district court judges. One is age limited out. Judge Ballargen was our other district court judge. He stepped down in May. The governor appointed Chris Burnett into his seat. So there'll actually be 2 elections this year for judicial positions. I'm running for the vacancy from Scottless. I'd say my career started in law enforcement in 1996, actually 95, got into the academy. I trooped at South Haven Post for almost 10 years. Had a wonderful time trooping in Allegan and Van Buren. Unfortunately, my career come to an end in the 2003 to 2005 era. I was shot in line of duty in Bent Harbor during the civil unrest of 2003. And so I retired from the department with nerve damage to my left hand and could not do the job thereafter. So I came back to law school and went back to Berrien County for about 4.5 years as a prosecutor defending victims' rights. And I was the chairman of the gun board, which at that time was responsible for issuing concealed pistol licenses. In 2015, I quit the office and opened my own practice in Holland, and I've been practicing there ever since. Primarily in criminal defense, estate planning, also have counsel with colleagues in Kalamazoo, and I do this briefs and motions for personal injury law. So I think my diverse background on both sides of the criminal aspect, as well as civil law, and being a police officer gives a unique problem-solving aspect to the district court. And I think it would lend well to the bench, lend balance to the bench. I can tell you I'm a believer in redemption and giving people the tools and opportunity to change their behavior. I'm a believer in our specialty courts. We have 3 specialty courts in district court, sobriety court, mental health court, and Judge Ballargen championed our veterans court. I think when you put people who have common problems in an area where they are comfortable with their camaraderie and comfortable with those that have gone through the same strife, they tend to problem solve and put forth their efforts to change in a more effective way. So I absolutely am in favor of giving people the opportunity to change and redeem themselves. Having said that, I recognize that redemption is not the cards for everybody, whether it's by their choice or repeated failures. And I think when that happens, they have to be held accountable and keep our community safe. are exciting news since the last time we were here. It went from a 3-person race down to a 2-person race. So there was, myself, a township supervisor for Watson Township that was running, and then a grandfather here in town that is also running. The township supervisor had dropped out. He has now endorsed me as well as the county prosecutor. I do have nominating petitions here. If anyone would be willing to sign a petition, we have to get at least 600 signatures from Allen County voters. You can get on the ballot. Those of you willing to sign it, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great. Anybody else in the audience here that would like to speak? Okay, let's open it to the folks. Oh, okay.
Just real quick, Bruce Bird, 6903 Shore Drive. It just, we need access from our road to get to Lake Shore. We put in a 1-lane road. You need access to get to homes. I don't think we didn't build a highway to get to Lake Shore. We built a road. So I think if you need something and we're willing to put in a road, that it could be an emergency road. It doesn't have to be a highway. It could be a 1-lane road. And you wouldn't have to destroy, what we have there already. And it would still give you access to get to our homes. Plus, what I understand that the fire department is moving closer to where we are. Yes, sir. And that kind of answers that problem too. So if that's the problem that you're trying to answer, I think it's already taken care of. Or again, it doesn't have to be a highway. Thank you.
Okay. Morgan, will you see who would like to participate via Zoom?
I think Elaine has been waiting patiently.
Okay.
For Elaine Isley, I am with the Saugatuck Dunes Coastal Alliance, and I just wanted to make a brief comment about the proposed ordinance for the moratorium on the data centers. We are in support of that. Data centers use up a significant amount of water, even if it's not on site for cooling. There is a significant amount of water use in the use of energy and in the supply chain. I appreciate the township's caution in not rushing forward with this potential opportunity, shall we say. And I applaud them for trying to be more cautious and trying to put in the right safeguards in place. And I think I will leave it at that. So we are in support and hope that this gets enacted tonight.
Thank you. Let's see.
Lisa?
She's done. Oh, there we go. Lisa?
Hi, I'm Lisa O'Keefe. I live at 2583 Lakeshore in Fenville. First of all, I'd like to thank Chief Janik for speaking and expressing his concern about our neighborhood. Because of the new fire facility being built on Wiley and Blue Star, the emergency services will be 2.4 miles closer to our neighborhood than they presently are, which puts us much closer to the mean response time as other residents of the township. I would also encourage the members of the board to read the grant application. It seems that it's not wise or in the best interest of the constituents to pass a motion in support of something that everybody is not fully aware of what the terms of the grant are. I have read the grant application on more than one occasion. I will tell you a few things that it says. It says 6 times that the speed limit will be 55 miles an hour. After reading that, I personally met with Daniel DeFranco and asked about how possibly the Lakeshore Drive and Wiley beginning and end of this road could possibly continue to be 30 miles per hour. And Daniel said that those segments, the speed limit on those segments would be increased to match that, but hopefully not 55, more likely 45 or 50 miles an hour. The grant application also provides for tree clearing, environmental things. There is almost not a single item in the grant application that is conclusive. They're going to clear 35 acres. The environmental impact study has not been done. Traffic studies have not been done yet. So here's my request. I agree completely with Doug Manning. Our neighborhood, we want to work with you. No, this meeting, like our resistance is not to a road or to a solution for an emergency connection. It's to the process. I ask respect, and I'm speaking for many people. I ask that it just be paused, like Doug Manning said. The board needs to be confident of every term in this proposal before they agree to endorse a motion that supports it. We all want a solution, but this time we want a solution that has been done with a process that's transparent and inclusive of the people that it's going to affect. You would be astounded by the provisions of this application. The residents that are supposed to be benefited by this project live in Fenville. The grant application takes particular care to describe these underprivileged people, this deprived population that's going to have access to this as the beneficiaries. They insist that the tourism in the community is going to be benefited, despite that this road, if people ride on it, which the traffic study reports will be thousands more people than are on it daily, are going to bypass the Whatnot, Farmhouse Deli. All of the businesses on Blue Star will be bypassed. The tourism that is going to be benefited by this new road, the only business is the resort that does not support this effort. So it would be very interesting for you all to actually read the grant application and see the provisions that were put in here to support it. I just ask you, please, I don't understand what the rush is, why you have to pass a motion in support of this now, or how you feel about passing a motion for a document that you are not extremely familiar with the terms of. Let's just say we want to fix this. We all want to work together. We want to be included, and we want it to be transparent. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa. Are there others online that would like to make public comment? Please raise your hand. There will be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Hold on, we want to make sure that we haven't missed anyone. Is there anyone else participating via Zoom that would like to speak at public comment? No? Tonight's agenda. We need approval of tonight's agenda. Would someone like to make motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I move to approve the agenda as presented. Support.
Motion and support for the discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Brings us to the consent agenda. Did you resolve the issues that you wanted to
No,
pull
I
out of there?
so I'd like to pull out.
Okay, there are.
Two questions, just one, two specific
Go ahead,
questions.
Treasurer Hellrick, and just identify those, and then we can approve the consent agenda and speak about those separately. Okay.
So the first one is for the minutes of our board meeting on January 14th. I'm looking at page 19. Board book. Go down to other business, the end of point 1, where it says I was a motion to approve / deny. Page 19. Under 1, bottom, a motion was made by Helmrich. It says approve / deny.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's the
Copy and
language
paste.
is before we vote.
So cross out the deny, correct?
That's my memory is we approved.
Well done.
Okay. And then secondly, on 31, 32. The correspondence from the Michigan Township Association, where they're inviting us to sign the principles of governance, which I think we've done in the past. So if we approve the consent agenda with this in it, is that implied that we will all sign it?
I
Or
would
is
say
there a question?
my intent was just so you could see this
Right.
and then potentially discuss it, and then we could have it on the agenda for a future meeting for approval. So it's more, so I haven't listed in
So
correspondence,
that's why.
it's just an FYI, yeah.
We have done this in the past, so.
And I figured you'd wanna do it again, I just thought, let you see it first and then.
Okay, understood.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's it.
All right, thanks for calling those out, Treasurer Hellrick, with it, accepting those 2 items, would somebody like to make a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda?
Well, I'll move to approve the consent agenda as amended.
Support. Motion and support, further discussion. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? So we're gonna skip items 7 through 12 as there are no new, topics there. And move right on to item number 13, other new business, data center moratorium resolution. What is on page what?
50.
Thank you. Again, we talked about this quite a bit, at our committee of the whole meeting. I think it's prudent. I think it's, front loading this. I applaud our manager, our zoning administrator, and our planning commission for getting ahead of this. Would you like to say just a couple words about this, as we did cover this in length yesterday?
Yes, so we do, just to be clear, we have no active applications for data centers in the township. However, we have noticed that there's some gaps in our zoning ordinance where we don't have a definition of data center. And so we'd really be kind of interpreting the zoning ordinance to figure out how does a data center fit into it? Where would it be allowed? What would be the standards for approval? And so we brought the issue to the planning commission. The planning commission is interested in pursuing specific zoning amendments that would allow for the regulation of data centers in the township. And they are recommending that the township board adopt a 6-month temporary moratorium on any new data center applications, which could give them the time to go through the zoning ordinance, look at other amendments that other communities have made, and then make a recommendation to this board. So what you would be approving tonight would be a 6-month temporary moratorium. If we were to approve amendments to the zoning ordinance prior to the end of that 6-month period, the moratorium would be lifted. If it requires more time, this board could also consider an extension of that moratorium.
Oh, excellent.
Any questions for Manager Campbell? No. It's unlikely that we would have applicants for that particular business, but I think it's very important, that we're getting ahead of it and we're not. So again, thank you and as well.
I would love
Go ahead,
to
thank you.
move to adopt ordinance number 2026-01. An ordinance to impose a 6-month moratorium on the acceptance of new building and zoning applications for data centers.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Humrick, support by Aldrich. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the roll. Humrick,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
Bigford, yes. Ottoman.
Yes,
Okay. Motion carries 4-0. That brings us to item number 2 under other new business, which is Blue Star Trail Engineering proposal. Go ahead and give us the overview on this as well, please.
Yes, yeah, so this is an interlocal agreement between Saugatuck Township and the city of Village of Douglas that would commit both communities to an engineering services proposal for Prine and Newhall for the extension of the Blue Star Trail from Wiley Road down to M89 or 124th Avenue. Yeah, so we've been working very hard at this project. We've secured, I want to say it's just at or a little over $3 million between the TAP program and from the trust fund program. So most of the money for the construction of the trail is secured, but that does leave engineering fees. So TAP grant does not cover engineering fees, which would fall to the local municipalities. We have come up with a cost share arrangement where items that would be required regardless of the length of the trail would be split 50-50 by Douglas and the township. In general, engineering fees are gonna have an 80-20 split township Douglas, which reflects the length of the trail in each community. And then there's one item in which the township is paying 100% engineering fees for, and that is the section of trail that goes over the I-196 bridge. That requires a little more work and it doesn't include any area in Douglas. So that was the agreement that we reached. The township's total responsibility would be $393,520. The majority of that we would budget for next fiscal year. Although there would be some funds that would be required to be expended this fiscal year, which would total about $60,000. So there is some unexpected expenditure, but the rest we can plan for next fiscal year. I think that, you know, from our perspective, it's important that we had a vehicle to move this forward with both communities because we want to stay on a timeline that aligns with the grant award from the TAP program, which is 2027. So by executing the interlocal agreement and moving forward with the engineering services, we do stay on schedule for a 2027 construction start date.
Has Douglas voted on this yet?
Douglas has not voted on this yet. It's gonna be at their next meeting. However, it did go through attorney review and they had no comments and their manager is happy to put this on their agenda.
Any other questions or discussion?
Would you like the motion?
Yes, please.
I move to approve the local agreement between Saugatuck Township and the city of the Village of Douglas to retain Prine and Newhall for engineering design and construction engineering services for the Blue Star Trail extension from Wiley Road to M89 and to approve the associated cost share arrangement as presented.
support,
We have a motion and support. Further discussion? No? Okay, all in favor?
I
Aye, opposed? Motion carries 4-0. And we are on to page 60, resolution supporting the reconnecting Lakeshore Drive project and commitment of funds. So I would like to just summarize our discussion yesterday. We spent a great deal of time, probably 40-45 minutes talking about this at the committee as a whole. I think we could probably be here until 3 AM talking about it. So just to put a little parameters on it and to kind of summarize what we've already talked about, what's already been said. So as a board, we're not kind of belaboring or just being redundant. Please humor me. There are a lot of considerations, concerns from the board, from the constituents, regarding, increased development, increased density, speed limit concerns, the bike path being redundant and not necessary, cultural concerns, environmental concerns, water runoff concerns. There's so much. This is a very, very complicated and long process, and I know everybody's hearts are in the right spot and we want to come to a solution. Other things to just note that were discussed yesterday at the committee of the whole is this is a multi-year process. This is not something that is going to be a rush. This is not a knee-jerk reaction. It's just the very first step in a very long process that's going to be overseen, you know, at the federal level, which is a good thing. They're much more stringent with their funds, looking at environmental concerns, cultural concerns, etc. Talked a great deal about that. Multiple, not one, not two, multiple, probably 4, 5 routes will be. The route that is being proposed is just almost like a placeholder, right? Like, I mean, it's so rough. It's just, it's not a rendering. It's not a design. It's just there, you know, we probably 4 or 5 other routes will be considered, must be considered. And we are not committed to going forward with this project. And I appreciate the analogy about the wedding, that was well done. But sometimes hard things happen, and if we can't make concessions and come to some sort of agreement that is livable, we can say no, thank you, you know, and we're not out any taxpayers' dollars, we're not out, and if what the road commission and, you know, comes up with is not agreeable, that's not on us, you know, we are trying our very, very best to make this work for everyone, and we have to move forward. This is not, you know, kick the can down the road. Chief Janik's been here for the whole thing. It's terrible. I'm sorry that you had, you know, to rescue or retrieve people, you know, from that road, Chief Janik. That should that happen again. With that said, I'd like to open up comments from the board. Again, new comments, new discussion, but we've talked about so much of this, and unfortunately, we have to make a decision tonight. We don't have to. I guess we could make a decision to table it. I would suggest that we make a decision to either go forward on this or not. But anyway, I'd like to open up for comments from the board at this time. Treasurer Helmrich.
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to get some clarification, because this is things we discussed yesterday. We discussed some of what I'm gonna ask about today. It's come up in the audience, and I'm hearing people say that, see, my understanding was that at any time after, even after the grants are awarded, we could pull out, and we do have a say, the width that was talked about in the 55-mile speed limit, that's just a starting point. We'll be able to pull that back, make modifications.
Do you want me to answer that question?
Yeah.
So this is, I mean, this is complicated, and I would say, you know, it's frustrating for us because we hear you, and like, if it were our, I don't want to speak for the board, but there was a letter that was drafted by the township that was voted on by the board that stated to the road commission that we want to see this designed as a local road. We want to see it at 35 miles per hour. You know, we believe that it is in this local road context that was all delivered to the road commission, and they know our wishes, and we believe those wishes do reflect more so the public's wishes. We are in a situation, and I think the board talked about it earlier, where unfortunately at the general law township, we do not have jurisdiction over our roads. We are not in the road business. And at the end of the day, the road commission can make decisions without our approval, which is very frustrating. For this particular project, yeah, the road commission has proposed a certain width and a certain speed limit, although we don't know what the exact route of the road will be. And going, and I guess the other element here is that, like, if this were totally locally funded by, let's just say it's the road commission by the county road commission could do whatever they wanted to do. Even if this was funded primarily by the state, there might be some requirements, but not many. The fact that we're pursuing a federal grant is actually the best opportunity that we have to have input in the design. So there's no doubt, it's in black and white, that what's being proposed is a 34-foot width with a 55-mile-an-hour design. However, that proposal is going to go under significant environmental and cultural review by the federal government. And they are going to, I don't think there's any doubt that there's environmental impacts. I have gone through an environmental impacts application before. There is no doubt there's environmental impacts. And I don't think that there's much, I think that there would probably be cultural impacts as well, which requires additional review. And at that point, there's going to be a request for mitigation measures. And so I do think that there is an opportunity there where the mitigation measures might result in a reduced width of the road. And with a reduced width, design essentially dictates speed. You cannot have a road that is designed, you know, with a more narrow width and maintain a 55-mile-an-hour speed limit. You also are going to be running across environmental features. So there were two major studies that supported there were two major studies that supports the grant application as we see it now. The second one, I was on the field with Eagle, with the engineers, with the road commissions, and we came across the natural features. So that's going to be something that is going to be considered as well. It may not be possible to have a straight shot, which is the likely route that would support a higher speed limit. It's very possible there might be curves and there might be stop signs. So that's something that we still don't know, which could dictate speed. So I guess the long and the short of it is, right now, it is designed to be a 34-foot width road, and the desired speed limit is 55 as specified by the road commission. The road commission will have to contend with the regulatory agencies in the federal government who will be looking for mitigation measures. And I also think that there is an opportunity for this body to articulate desired mitigation measures that we could submit to those agencies to be considered. So is the route definite? Absolutely not. Do we even know that the federal government is going to insist that or maintain the width and the speed limit that's being proposed? We don't know that. There's a lot that has to be thought through, and I think that there's definitely opportunities for this body to weigh in based on local feedback, and that's, I think, what we intend to do. But the best bet of having the most input is going to be through federal funding. Otherwise, those regulations through either local funding or state funding are not present. So can I tell you tonight that it's not going to be 35 width and 55 miles an hour? No, but can I tell you that that is going to be certainly reviewed? Absolutely.
And is it true, let's say all that happens?
Yeah.
It's also my understanding that federal requirements will be that more than one road plan is
So,
considered. It
so-
could be up to
yeah.
3 or 4.
yeah, so typically that's what they do. So they'll ask for you to provide alternative routes because they want to see whether or not you are considering mitigation measures. So they're not just gonna take at face value what you give them. So like, for instance, for the northern section of the bike trail, we had to provide 4 different alternatives. And then we had to do a site visit, which they confirmed that our determination that the route that we chose was the best alternate route. They had to be in person to make that determination themselves.
And would the environmental impact study be done by Eagle?
It would be completed by the road commission by a professional and like environmental engineer, and then it would be reviewed by the federal government.
So would it not go to Eagle at all?
It would go to
Because of wetlands?
MDOT.
It would- Okay,
Yeah, it would go to MDOT.
even with the wetland issue.
Well, so it would be, I don't know if Eagle is gonna weigh in on it, but the federal government has environmental agencies. So it would probably have to comply with state law as well.
Let's
It
hope-
would have to comply.
Let's
with
hope they still do.
Yeah, no, it would have to comply with state law and federal law. Yeah.
And then just ultimately, if we get through all this process, which will
Mhm.
take months, and we will be holding 1 or 2 probably stakeholder meetings, public hearings, to get more feedback when we have something to look at.
Right.
Right?
There is a plan to hold an in-person stakeholder meeting between the submission of the grant and before we find out if we're awarded the grant, so sometime in the spring. And we won't find out until between June and August because the federal government is pretty slow on turning out those responses at this point.
And is it August that we would know if we got it, or?
Between June and August,
Oh, it's-
typically it comes out.
Sometime over the summer.
Yeah, so typically it was pretty regular when you would get you would find out if you're awarded or denied the grant. But now it's a little more irregular. So this year we were expecting it in June, and I think we got word in July or
Right.
very late June. But there's a chance that we're not gonna get this grant. I mean, we are a very tiny fish
Right.
in a very big pond, like big cities apply for this grant program. So the fact that we got any kind of attention it was a lot of background work. We had, we invited representatives from, the US government, from our state government. We did an on-site tour. Chief Janik was present. Trustee Aldrich was there. We did a private tour of Lakeshore Drive with Bill Huizinga. So we did a lot of background work just to get some attention to the project so that we might be considered for this grant. So there's no guarantee that we're gonna get this grant. But I forgot where I was going with that.
No, that's good.
Yeah.
2 more questions. So let's say we don't get is this a grant that's awarded annually?
It is.
All right, so
It
if we
is.
don't get it, we could try.
We could try again.
And then if we do get it in August or September. I mean, if the grant's awarded to us.
Then we would have to, so then there would be a period of, so they would supply us with the grant agreement.
Right.
Which could take months to prepare, and then we would have to work through that grant agreement, so there's gonna be a back and forth. We're not gonna be the signers, the road commission's gonna be the signers, but there's gonna be a period of back and forth. And then that could take a long time too, so if you remember, we were awarded the Safe Streets for All grant through the Federal Highway Administration in November 2024. And we still don't have an executed grant agreement. So that is a long process to enter into a federal grant agreement with the Federal Highway Administration.
I would imagine.
Yeah,
Now, we've heard people say, well, I've heard people say yes and people say no, that even after the grant's awarded, at some point we could pull out and say, we don't like the way this is going. But could we, if the award's given to the road commission, would we still have that kind of influence?
I think that we would want to make the decision before we gave input on the acceptance of the grant agreement. However, there could be things that come up during the actual project process. But we'd probably want to iron out those things during the grant agreement review.
And that would include the 3 or 4 proposed possible road.
Now, that's actually something that we might want to engage with the road commission sooner than later and say we want to be involved in that process. And we might actually try to get some of those alternate routes. At least bring some clarity to them sooner than later. Like that's something we could possibly do between the period of submission of the grant and then finding out about the status of that.
So that's probably something we should do anyway.
That's something we should do
Right.
anyway,
I
and we
would
could
think-
always start the process sooner. I think the more information that we have to provide to the federal government as the project location is for the best for us.
Right. And then would that have to be mandated through board action or just?
Yeah, I would probably, depending on, if there's an, required like expenditure of funds, but I would probably bring it to you to say that, we want to request that the road commission work with us on the development of alternate routes. And the design is going to be everything, the design of the route, that is going to impact what the speed limit is. So if you have shorter runs with stop signs or you have significant curves, you're not going to be able to maintain the higher speed. The 55-mile-an-hour speed is based on the presumption that you could have a straight shot road.
Right.
And also based on the presumption that you have 12-foot lanes and then 5-foot paved shoulders. Those could be reduced. So the type of road or the classification of the road allows for 10-foot wide lanes and probably 2-foot wide shoulders. So it's quite possible we could reduce the width significantly. But it's just about that, I think articulating what we're looking for and then being able to submit that to MDOT in their environmental and cultural reviews, and then also working with the road commission on alternate routes is gonna be important.
So is it possible we could have language put together by next month's board meeting on that aspect of
We could,
reaching out not sooner than later?
oh yeah,
Okay,
yeah, we could totally have something on the agenda for next time, and I imagine what you're saying is starting to work on alternate routes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do that.
so we know what, and we can share with everyone.
We can share, and I would hope that that would actually be a component of the stakeholder meeting. Cause it is, and this, it wouldn't be like a full-on public meeting, that we would invite Lakeshore Drive residents to that meeting so that we could spend time with the people who are most impacted by the new road. That's the intention.
Thank you for all that.
Pleasure.
And thank you for all that's come before this. This is not an easy one.
No, it's not an easy one.
I don't have any further questions, and I'm prepared to make a motion.
The only thing I would like to say is, I appreciate all the questions and I hope that helped clarify a few things that we are hearing. I've served on the fire board since we were elected, and this weighs heavy on the fire board. I'm not kidding you how every meeting it's brought up. Chief Janik is concerned about Lakeshore Drive. He wants the safest possible solutions, and he's worried about water supplies. And they just work so hard to try to keep everyone safe. You see semis flying off bridges. I mean, our emergency people are the ones responding to all these events, and they're busy. And I just feel that everyone on our board would feel, on the fire board would feel much more comfortable if we could get to you safely quicker. And I just know this would help. So I'm confident that we will do our best to keep it a pleasant area for you. And if we even don't get it, but I think we just can't wait any longer. It's just been talked about for a very long time.
Thank you. Trustee Aldrich. I forgot to mention, when I kicked off this discussion that, I did have a chance to speak with, trustee Marcy this afternoon. She, is our roads liaison, and, you know, she had reviewed, the material and have had multiple discussions about this, and she does share the concerns, but she does believe that we need to move this forward. At least at the time that we had that conversation, that was her position. Also, I understand, Daniel, that the Lakeshore Association
I talked, yeah,
supports.
I talked to the chair, yeah, Don
The chair,
Oliver, and he said that they are in favor of the project and moving forward with the grant.
He's not the chair, he doesn't represent.
I'm on the board, that's not true.
But I talked to Don Ollendorf and he said that he was in support of the project moving forward.
Okay. Yes, I'd like to move to approve the adoption of resolution 2026-02. A resolution supporting the reconnecting of Lakeshore Drive project and commitment of local funds.
I'll support.
We have a motion by Osmond, support by Aldrich. Further discussion? Call the roll. Osmond,
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Humrick,
Yes.
Bigford, yes.
Way to represent your people.
Moving on to other new business number 4, pre-development accelerator pilot program grant agreement.
So, yeah, so this is a grant agreement between Saugatuck Township and the Michigan Infrastructure Office Technical Assistance Center. Under their pre-development accelerator pilot program, and it's a grant award of $50,000 to support the early stage planning and engineering work for the redesign and reconfiguration of the intersection of Blue Star Highway, 134th Avenue and 65th Street. So this was a big deal to Saugatuck Township residents. They were very concerned about this particular intersection. It is a very odd intersection that.
Can I just?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
It's 135th.
Oh, it's 135th. I'm sorry.
And it's the intersection where
Right, Blue
the
Star,
dune rides
yeah.
are.
The gym.
And the gym.
Yes, yes.
And the hospital.
Yes. And
And
five roads
we've been
come
hearing
together.
about it for years and
Yeah.
years. How
You can't even use that intersection, so.
No, I don't use, I don't use it in the summer at all.
I live near there, so I can,
Yeah.
I can do a study, but no.
I did a lot of time spent at the hospital offices, coming in and out
I
of that.
told- We all go to physical therapy there. so,
But, yeah,
That's the gym.
that office creates a lot more traffic than any residential development ever would create. People are coming and going every 15 minutes. You're there for 15 minutes and you gotta leave. So that's a lot more traffic than somebody who goes to work in the morning and comes home at night and maybe goes grocery shopping.
That's a very good point.
So, been there.
Not to mention the gym.
The gym too, but
Thanks for running me.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you. No, thank you. I didn't want to.
That's another problem street.
Yeah,
That's-
Yeah.
Carry on.
It's just, I mean, this grant program, I think is particularly exciting because it was based on the state's recognition that this would be a competitive project for federal funding. So not only is it funding for engineering services, but it sets us up for a federal grant application so that we could actually construct what we designed. So I think that this is a big step forward and we're hoping that the timing aligns with the opening of that new residential development so that we would have a brand new, configured intersection that is, a lot more safe and, is looking towards the future of the Blue Star corridor, so.
covered all of this yesterday, but thank you for giving us an overview of that for the audience and for the people joining us via Zoom. Would someone like to?
I'm gonna try to make a
Okay.
motion. This is a long one, so bear with me.
All right.
Like to move to approve grant agreement number PDAP 2026-STWP 01. A grant agreement regarding the 2026 Pre-Development Accelerator Pilot Program between the Michigan Infrastructure Office of Technical Assistance Center and Saugatuck Township.
Support. We have a motion and support. Further discussion? No? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 4-0. Our last item under new business is progressive planning and engineering services. Go ahead and give us that high level. Yes, ma'am.
Did we, what was really, oh, I'm sorry, throw out my question.
All right. You want to just give us a brief overview of this, Daniel?
Yes, so this is connected with that prior agenda item. So essentially, this is entering into an engineering agreement to hire Progressive to help us do a feasibility study to determine what solutions there are for reconfiguring that intersection, and then what is the intersection that is what is the configuration that is going to be both most cost effective, competitive for grants, but then also helps us achieve that long-term vision for the Blue Star corridor that we have. We work with them on the development of the Blue Star Highway Safety Plan. I think they're very in tune to pedestrian focused improvements and not improvements that are just looking at things from the perspective of the vehicular driver. So I think that they would be a great company to hire for this particular project. So it's a proposal for $7,000 to support those engineering services. I did talk to them on the phone today, and there might be some slight expansion of the scope. We're gonna meet with Prine and Newhoff to see if they can integrate a little more with what they would be supporting us with. So maybe in the motion to approve up to $10,000, and then if that changes, because right now Progressive and Prine are gonna be our main consultants for all of this work. So I think Prine is fantastic. They do great work. Really trust them. Progressive has got some excellent engineers on staff that are just so in tune to designing from the perspective of multiple stakeholders. So I think that pairing will be a major success in the redesign of that intersection. So that's what this agenda item is, to accept a proposal from Progressive to support planning and engineering services for the plan for reconfiguring the Blue Star Highway 135th and 65th Street intersection.
Do you have a sense of what the time period is for them to complete this?
Oh, it's gotta be fast. The whole thing has gotta be done by September 15th, so they can start immediately. So we'd have a kickoff meeting. I've already talked to the road commission. They're gonna be participating in this. And yep, they're gonna kind of, in this case, they're following our lead, which is nice. It's a change in their, I think it's a testament to the partnerships that we've developed with them.
Sure.
But we would start this project immediately and have to be totally finished by September 15th.
And do you expect they'll have several options or?
Yeah, so there's two general concepts. The first concept is creating a four-way intersection. The second concept in general is a roundabout. So I don't know which one we're gonna go with. I think they both have their pros and cons, but they'll tell us what those are when they show, how we can accomplish those two things. It's quite possible the four-way won't work. If the roundabout works, I want Progressive involved because they are going to have a more nuanced take on how to design a roundabout. I think, we've heard criticism of the existing roundabout. I think to have more thought put into the design if this were to be a roundabout is very important.
And whichever, so will both this board as well as the road commission have to approve what they come up with, or how's that?
I think they would, yes, they would,
Okay.
yeah, which is why, yeah,
No, I'm curious.
yeah, no, I think
Now
that's
I'm
right.
amazed at the timeframe. It's
Yes,
fast.
speedy.
Some things aren't fast.
Yeah, some things are fast, and then, yeah, and then we can plan for the submission for a federal grant to support the construction, so hopefully delivering on what we told the public we would do.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Since this amendment, or this motion is amended, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Okay.
I'll move to approve the proposal from Progressive Companies for professional planning and engineering services not to exceed $10,000 dated November 5, 2025.
I'll support.
Motion and support. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? 3-4-0. Okay. We have no agenda items under future topics. That brings us back to public comment. Still have people here. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? Thank you for staying. Oh,
There's no one on Zoom.
okay, there, it is bedtime. Yes. Okay, board member comments. Henrik,
Yes, how did you know?
I appreciate your thoughtfulness
There
and
you
your,
This is follow-up. Last month, we talked about maybe going for the Michigan Township Associations of excellency rating. So I spent a lot of time going through the application, and a lot of things came to my attention. I'm handing this out, I'm not gonna go through this list. These are the things that stuck out to me as maybe harder things to score on or not. So I highlighted a few. They're mostly around training. For example, the supervisor is required to attend 6 MTA training or conferences every 2 years. Treasurer has to attend 5 MTA events every year. And then there's requirements on attendance at planning commission. And for emergency management, 2 board members have to complete 2 trainings of NIRS. And I forget what NIRS stands for. So what I've suggested to Daniel, I'm happy to explore what the costs would be here as we enter into a new budget year. Because over the years, we've had various times where I've often pushed us to go to the MTA conference, some of us have, some have training, some haven't, same with the planning commission. And I think they're valid, but there is a cost. So I'd like to take a stab at as we go into budget time.
It's perfect timing.
So if we can agree that that's important, and then maybe proceed with the application, or maybe just wait. But we all supported the idea,
Or-
which I thought was great, and
get set on that trajectory, because there's no deadline for the submission, right?
in the term of this board. And then there's a second level, I forget what they call it,
Mhm.
but they could say like, well, you're a pretty good township. but
Super excellent.
you're not excellent. So I think.
Supreme.
As treasurer too, I'd like to know what's the fiscal impact here?
Yeah.
Does this add up to $20,000 a year?
Mhm.
But I can find out. So
Thank you.
just putting it in this till further,
Thank you for that work.
maybe not even next month.
We
No,
have
it's
10
budget time starts, so, okay, that's what I wanted to fill you in.
For Gosman?
I'm good.
Those,
2 hours.
I thought it would be 9
I'll
o'clock.
go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 8 o'clock.